First question is, of course, will refer us to the pandemic that everybody facing now. So what were the main measures you took to protect your employees?
Employee is really what we cherish the most at Sanofi. We talk about Sanofi as an organization. Sanofi is not made out of walls, it's made out of employees, different individuals. We work as a team to then come up with solution, among which we're working on a solution for the COVID-19. So what have we done for our employee? First word, it's exactly when we produce a vaccine, it's about the safety. So we want to make sure each and every employee, and not only the employee, but their loved one, their family, are safe. And while at the same time, we have a duty as an organization to make sure that we continue to provide our drugs, medicines, vaccines to our customers. And the crisis started mid-March, on March 17th of this year. We decided that we'll close our offices and everybody will work from home, except the ones for whom it's key to continue to go to their daily work, especially people, for instance, working in the supply chain department, people working at our manufacturing site here at Areol. So those employees have been equipped with all the material, whether it's the gloves, whether it's the mask, the hydroalcoholic solution, as well as being trained on, what are the safety measures, how to behave with one another. Now, when it comes to our sales force, as I told you, those people are key to promote our drugs and products. And that's something that is very important for us, is keep those customers at the center of everything we do. So while our sales force was working from home, we still developed material, tools that this sales force can not only, as I said, promote our drug, but probably even more important in this time of crisis, can bring the information to our customers, to our healthcare professionals. And as a good example of that, we've developed a platform, not a platform, but we developed a content through our platform, Docsfera, that has been available now in Russia for 3 years, to address the question of physician. What is COVID-19? What are the side effects of COVID-19? Which population is at risk? So all that information is available on the Docsfera platform. I can tell you a few months ago, it was not that common to be used, especially for people based in the field, because for them, their work was mainly through face-to-face interaction with their customers. So we've been able to train them that they are very comfortable with this, and then can do what they have to do with their customers, among which, in the first place, as I told you, provide good and quality information when it comes to COVID. Because a lot of physicians, despite big physicians, were lacking information when it comes to COVID. I mentioned a bit, this aspect of being still able to provide drug to our customers. Our manufacturing site, Sanofi Aventis Vostok in the Areol region, are still being up and running. In time of crisis, it was not like working as usual. So despite being under big pressure, big constraint, they had to come up with even more production. And they've been able to come up and match this expectation from our different customers. So I would like to use this platform to send them big kudos, because they've been able to do a great job during the past months, being very resilient and again being very customer centric, which is a motto at Sanofi.
As far as we know, Sanofi is among the companies that develops a vaccine against COVID. So share us some news regarding this process.
We've been collaborating with the BARDA acronym, which stands for the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority in the US, and to unlock a fast path forward to develop vaccines. Because developing vaccines, in average, it's a 10-year process. But I think with the issue that we are coping with, we, not Sanofi Pastер, again, the human being community, we cannot wait 10 years. We've also been cooperating with the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovation, CPI, which has been launched in 2017 in Davos. And this this CPI coordinates the development of future vaccines against targeting epidemic pathogens identified by the World Health Organization. We have right now 2 candidates, okay? The first one, which is based on the influenza platform. There are many companies that are now trying to find a candidate, and it's a race, but I think it's a good race. And it's a good race, and not one company will solve it and save the world. But we believe that with cooperating with GSK, that has a wonderful adjuvant, and that by mid-2021, we'll be able to provide that vaccines to the broader audience. We have a second candidate, as I mentioned to you, which is based on a new technology, the so-called mRNA. And for that, from a timeline standpoint, we target to have the vaccines available more at the end of 2021.
Experts from World Health Organization, so all the experts, they say that gaining the collective immunity is playing a significant role in overcoming the pandemic. So what might be the right strategy in this regard? So what is your solution opinion on this matter?
So there are a lot of conflicting information out there, about vaccination. And there is what you read, there is what you hear, but there are the facts. In God I trust, everyone else show me data. So that's my mindset. Vaccines, they prevent deadly illness. And I can give you a few examples, but there are diseases that have been stopped and declared as no longer existing. For instance, the natural pox, or so-called smallpox, that the World Health Organization declared as extended and no longer here in the 1980s. That was because at the end of the day, vaccination happened for a broad population, as broad as possible, and that led to the stop of that disease. And what's clear is that vaccination provide a much better immunity than the natural infections, and that's why there are vaccines available. There are a vaccination schedule in different countries of the world, and it's important that infectious disease such as diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, polio, Hib, and so on and so forth are addressed via vaccination. Taking as an example the infections that I just mentioned, the combo vaccines are also very great because the combo vaccines allow in one shot to be vaccinated against those diseases. So instead of taking 5 shots for the 5 infections that I mentioned, you have combo vaccines that will allow you to be vaccinated and immunized against those diseases, and it reduces significantly the discomfort for the kid and save a lot of time and money as well. So those combo vaccines are very very important. Now, going back to your question, if we stop vaccination, let's make no mistakes, disease will return. Infections are still there, and when people are not vaccinated, infectious diseases that have become very uncommon, such as again diphtheria, measles, and so on, quickly reappear. Hence the importance of vaccination.
You've touched one point, so I would like to get to it, just not to get back to it further, about the combo vaccines. So yeah, it is a fact. They're more effective. They're cost effective. They give less stress for the immune system and things of the kind. So being the company that actually developed vaccines in this field, the combo ones, could you please tell me what is actually the perspectives in this regard?
The combo vaccines is very near and dear to Sanofi Pastер heart because, as I said, they are very beneficial, not only for the kids that will not go through many injections, but also for the community, because instead of going many times to the hospital, you will only go once, so that will save money. As of right now, it's clear that the combo vaccines make a lot of sense because you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time in the hospitals when COVID-19 is around. We have pentavalent vaccines, again, diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, polio, and Hib. We have another vaccines, which by the way is available right now as we speak in Kazakhstan and in other countries of the world, which is an hexavalent vaccines. And this is, by the way, available already in Russia. We have vaccines against this meningococcal infectious disease for the serogroup ACWY. And these vaccines is an outstanding vaccines to diminish the spread of meningitis. And we are, educating the pediatrician. We are educating the lay public, so the parents, that they are aware of what is this disease about. And clearly we want to grow our market share here and make sure the disease is stopped. But to make that happen, you need to make sure a broader cohort is immunized against that vaccine. So many plan globally, but also locally here in Russia.
Rather quickly, everybody understood that it's not just like a shield that protects citizens' health, but also it protects states' economics. As you told, because it may put on a stop and lock out the whole country. Please tell us, so how do you manage this challenge these days? The demand of the government to localize, to guarantee the supply, to bring the research centers into concrete, country that you operate with.
I don't think we have an intent to localize our production in Russia. We don't have an intent. We are already doing it as we speak. We know we have an outstanding partner here in Russia, Nanolec. And we've been able to localize and partner with Nanolec about the production of these five component pediatric vaccines that I mentioned a few minutes ago against diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, polio, and hip. Mm-hmm. And the partnership didn't start yesterday. It started in 2017. We've been able to produced locally and play in the federal tender, and this has contributed to the modernization of the national vaccination schedule. Mm-hmm. In last winter, in December 2019, we announced the successful implementation of the first supply of the pediatric combo locally produced here in Kirov at Nanolec's facility. And that was under a 2 years federal contract agreement for 2019 and 2020. We expect to have the same kind of agreement for the years to come. And the counterpart of it is the further localization of vaccines that will be not only packaged locally, but filled locally. So you see, gradually we become more and more localized. Now, does that suffice? Am I satisfied with such a commitment? Of course, I'm not. I think we need to entrench our localization even more, and that's why a memorandum of intention was signed at the end of last year to address other infectious disease, such as meningococcal infectious disease for the serogroup ACWY. So this is what we are working upon as we speak.
So, and speaking about the Russian immunization schedule, so right now it has 12 nosologies. So we all know that there are in different countries the number of those in some countries is even higher. So speaking about Russia. So how do you guess? Of course, everybody speaks about the increasing number of the nosologies, but how do you guess what are the main priorities regarding the calendar development?
In country where I'm from, where I've been lucky to live in, such as the US, the coverage is a bit higher. With 16 infections in their NVS. France is 15, Germany is 14. So I think from that perspective, there is room to make this great national vaccination schedule even better moving forward. But when it comes to Hib and polio, it's not for the full cohort. It's for the population at risk. It's a broad population, but it's not the full cohort.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means if you want to go back to one of your previous question about how do you make sure vaccines work, you need to tap in a broad population that everybody and you have the full immunity for your population. I was looking recently at the birth rate in Russia. It's going down over the past years, and not slightly, but significantly. So I think we have a huge responsibility, especially in the situation that we are living in right now with COVID-19, to make a safe environment for our kids. And from that perspective, tapping into only population at risk when it comes to the disease that I mentioned, it's not enough in my opinion. So clearly we need to unlock and make sure there is in the national vaccination schedule, the main part, Hib and IPV for all. And to me, that's not like a midterm and long term. This has to happen as we speak. So that's point number one. Point number two, let's not neglect other infection. Okay, and among which for sure meningococcal infectious disease for the serio group A, C, W, Y. Because the number over the past year have been rising, and better address it now than in a few years and say, if only we did that a few years ago. And I hope the NVS will be updated with at least in the first step this year with the add-on of meningococcal infectious disease for the serio group ACWY, as well as to continue the immunization of our kids when they grow up against pertussis. This is very important because, again, the inclusions of and the update of the NVS will ensure that those diseases will be addressed and will not spread across Russia.
Now we hear different statements about not like stopping, but termination of a regular vaccination process. But as we all know, it may lead to another outbreak of different infections. How to balance this matter? So how to continue the regular vaccination during the pandemic?
First of all, we have to acknowledge a fact, and the fact was because of this COVID-19, everyone was locked down, so vaccination kind of slow down. It's very important that we catch up to the vaccination schedule, and kids that were supposed to be vaccinated during over the past months now go and get their vaccination because just as a few example, the most case of severe pertussis happen in kids before 1 year of age. And from that perspective, if you don't vaccinate, you say, oh, you know what, I have plenty of time, I'll do it next year. This will not suffice because this will not address what we try to do with vaccination. Hence the importance of catching up, and our responsibility, as Sanofi Pastер, is educate, make sure everyone is aware, not only lay public, so parents, but also pediatricians, that this is very important to stick to this initial timing. I'm very conscious of, yes, we were under lockdown, but let's go back to a normal routine. This outbreak could have serious impact on our kids.
We see that vaccines that are actually a key solution to decrease child death rate within the last 100 years. And now vaccines are doubted. We read so many conspiracy theories about vaccines. Even people with an education, higher education, they accept this point of view. They come to that side, and they doubting whether they should vaccinate people. And actually, the pandemic raised that question on a very new level. How do you see, what is the ways, the main points, how to overcome those problems? So how can we restore the confidence?
I just would like to remind you that this movement against vaccination is not something new. It's not something new at all. That appeared back in the middle of the 19th century in the UK. The thing that I wanted to highlight here is in the 1980s, this anti-vaccination lobbying was one of the reasons some of the country stopped vaccination against, for instance, hepatitis. Okay, you know what was the result out of it?
I guess
hepatitis raised again and rose again, and as such, the country that have stopped vaccination against hepatitis, you know, in the by the late 90s, their number of cases of hepatitis were 10 to 100 times higher than the country that have continued vaccination against hepatitis. The anti-vaxxers in the globe or in Russia is roughly, you know, same number. It's 1 to 2% of the population that are very active and want to convey the message that vaccination does not help. Honestly, the current situation, the context we are living in, I hope that people understand the importance of vaccination, because for the ones, and nobody yet has been started to be vaccinated against COVID-19, we all realize what it means not to be vaccinated. It has an impact, a tangible impact on our life. And from that perspective, I hope that anti-vaxxers will be less than they were before, or at least let's put it this way. So our job here is educate and deliver a scientific based, trustful information about what vaccine do, but what vaccination is, what it does to the population, and a concrete example of our commitment and our job here in Sanofi, Russia.
Could you please tell me, what would you wish yourself and your team, of course, for the following, let's say, 3 years?
As you know, I'm new to that role, but Sanofi Pastер is not new to Russia, and we are committed, to bring the best vaccines to Russia. And clearly, Russia is a key market for Sanofi globally. Right now, we have 6 vaccines that are registered in Russia, and 4 of them are supply. We have a long-term partnership and localization project with the great partner I already mentioned, Nanolec. And our goal is not only to deliver vaccines, our goal is to deliver the best vaccines with the highest quality standards. And from that perspective, the 2-year contract that we had for our pentavalent vaccines was very important. And that's why it's also very important that we have an even longer contract for the years to come, 21, 22, 23. So having a contract that could cover 3-year contract that could cover those 3 years is definitely important, because that will ensure the sustainability of the product coming to Russia. At the same time, we commit to further localize our production of these pentavalent vaccines, and we'll be able to have those vaccines filled in Russia on the market by 2022. And you know, producing a vaccine is not as producing a pill. It's not a matter of a few weeks. It's a long-term process, 24 to 36 months, where you have a lot of quality control at stake. 70% of the time of the production is quality control. But I think what's very important looking forward is to ensure the sustainability of the vaccines to a Russian market. It's a multi-year contract with Federal Ministry of Health. B, extension of the cohort when it comes to these pentavalent vaccines with Hib and IPV for all. And then it's the update of the NVS with the inclusion of meningococcal infectious disease for the cellular group ACWY, as well as hepatitis for the preschooler, teenager, and adults. I feel here, a wishful thinking that I like very much, because I believe everything you achieve in life as a team, as an organization, as a group, whether it's Sanofi Pastер with its partner in Russia, which is Nanolec, with Federal Ministry of Health. It's a matter of belief, it's a matter of desire and desire to address issues. So we have a motto at Sanofi Pastер. That motto is as simple but as important as no one suffers or dies from preventable disease.
It was a true pleasure and honor to interview you. So, and wish again ourselves to complete our efforts in order to get a better future for our kids, for our country, for our people. Thank you very much.
Alexander, the honor was mine, so thanks for your time. I would just say agrom spasiba.
Thank you and have a good evening.